Uncle Remus is the fictional title character and narrator of a collection of African-American folktales adapted and compiled by Joel Chandler Harris, published in book form in 1881. A journalist in post-Reconstruction Atlanta, Georgia, Harris produced 7 Uncle Remus books. Structure: Uncle Remus is a collection of animal stories, songs, and oral folklore, collected from Southern African Americans. Many of the stories are didactic, much like those of Aesop's fables and Jean de La Fontaine's stories. Uncle Remus is a kindly old former slave who serves as a storytelling device, passing on the folktales to children gathered around him. The stories are written in an I dialect devised by Harris to represent a Deep South Gula dialect. The genre of stories is the trickster tale. At the time of Harris' publication, his work was praised for its ability to capture plantation Negro dialect. Biara Rabbit is the main character of the stories, a likable character, prone to tricks and trouble-making, who is often opposed by Biara Fox and Biara Bear. In one tale, Biara Fox constructs a lump of tar and puts clothing on it. When Brancher Rabbit comes along, he addresses the tar baby amiably but receives no response. Biara Rabbit becomes offended by what he perceives as tar baby's lack of manners, punches it, and becomes stuck. Controversy and legacy: the animal stories were conveyed in such a manner that they were not seen as racist by many among the audiences of the time. By the mid-20th century, however, the dialect and the narrator's old uncle stereotype were considered overly demeaning by many African American people, reflecting what they considered to be racist and patronizing attitudes toward African Americans. Providing additional controversy is the story's context, as they are set on a former slave-owning plantation and portrayed in a passive, even docile, manner. Nevertheless, Harris' work was, according to himself, an accurate account of the stories he heard from the slaves when he worked on a plantation as a young man. He claimed to have listened to, and memorized, the African American animal stories told by Uncle George Terrell, Old Harbert, and Aunt Chrissy at the plantation. He wrote them down some years later. He acknowledged his debt to these storytellers in his fictionalized autobiography, On the Plantation. Many of the stories that he recorded have direct equivalents in the African oral tradition, and it is thanks to Harris that their African American form is preserved. Harris himself said, in the introduction to Uncle Remus, that he hoped his book would be considered a sympathetic supplement to Mrs. Stowe's, author of Uncle Tom's Cabin, wonderful defense of slavery as it existed in the South. Mrs. Stowe, let me hasten to say, attacked the possibilities of slavery with all the eloquence of genius. But the same genius painted the portrait of the Southern slave owner, and defended him. Mark Twain read the Uncle Remus stories to his children, who were awed to meet Harris himself. In his autobiography, Twain describes Harris thusly: "He was the bashfulest grown person I have ever met. When there were people about he stayed silent, and seemed to suffer until they were gone. But he was lovely, nevertheless. For the sweetness and benignity of the immortal Remus looked out from his eyes, and the graces and sincerities of his character shone in his face." Twain wrote, "It may be that Jim Wolfe was as bashful as Harris. It hardly seems possible. Jim Wolfe is a character from the first humorous story Twain ever told, Jim Wolfe and the Cats." Adaptations in film and other media. Comics An Uncle Remus and His Tales of Biara Rabbit newspaper strip ran from October 14, 1945 through December 31, 1972. Films The stories have inspired at least 3 feature films. The first and best known is Walt Disney's Song of the South, a combination of live action and animation. Disney hired vaudeville and radio actor James Baskett to portray Remus, saying, "We want the audience to see Uncle Remus and not some actor whose personality is already known to them through other screen roles." The appearance of Baskett, a large African-American man with a round face, contrasts with that of Uncle Remus in earlier book illustrations by Frederick S. Church, A. B. Frost, and E. W. Kimball. Ralph Bakshire's film Coonskin is a satire of the Disney film that adapts the Uncle Remus stories to a contemporary Harlem setting. The Adventures of Brer Rabbit is a direct-to-video production with hip-hop influences. Music The song Uncle Remus was included on Frank Zappa's album Apostrophe. The song, co-written by Zappa and keyboardist vocalist George Duke, tackled the subject of racial relations in America, and is something of a spiritual successor to "OE Trouble Every Day," a track from about the same issues from Freak Out. See also, List of Uncle Remus characters, Tar Baby. References. Further reading, Joel Chandler Harris 1845 or 48, 1908. Eton Literary Festival. Eatonton, Georgia. Short biography of Joel Chandler Harris with photograph, Roosevelt, Theodore. Boyhood and Youth. References in Theodore Roosevelt's autobiography to Brer Rabbit and Uncle Remus. William Ullman. AllMusic. External links. Full text of books by Uncle Remus from Project Gutenberg, official Uncle Remus Museum in Eatonton, GA, official site of Uncle Remus.